All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into what is arguably one of the most incredible narrative arcs in all of sci-fi lore. We're talking about the return of the Silent Guardians, or, what's basically known as the biggest mistake in galactic history. Imagine this, a universe where a massive galactic council has held absolute, unchallenged rule over the stars for more than 50,000 years. I mean, thousands of alien civilizations bowing to their laws, whole star systems paying them tribute. Literally no empire dared to challenge their authority. But in all that time, there was this one tiny, seemingly insignificant rock they completely underestimated. And yep, you guessed it, that world was Earth. Okay, let's dive into this, because to really understand just how colossal a mistake this was, we gotta look at the stark contrast here. On one side, you have the Galactic Council. We're talking an ancient conglomerate of civilizations wielding godlike technology, wormholes, antimatter weapons, literally living starships. And on the other side, you have Earth. To the rest of the galaxy, humanity was, well, incredibly primitive. We were a species that had barely just begun to poke our heads out into our own local solar system. In fact, the Council's historians officially categorized humanity as a mere developing species. We were basically viewed as nothing more than a harmless little curiosity, forever bound to a single star. So, because of this massive technological gap, the Galactic Council developed some serious hubris. When they eventually detected some unusual energy signatures coming from our neck of the woods, they didn't even bother investigating. They just laughed. They dismissed us with this single, incredibly arrogant phrase: primitive monkeys are playing with dangerous toys. They assumed we would just end up destroying ourselves anyway, so they formally voted to completely ignore Earth. No intervention, no oversight whatsoever. And we are going to see exactly how that single vote became the absolute most expensive and consequential decision ever made in galactic history. To figure out why that decision was so fatal, we have to look back at what was happening right here on Earth at that exact same time. It's kind of where our story shifts from loud galactic politics to a really hushed, intense mystery on our own frozen continent. Human explorers made an impossible discovery, buried nearly 3 kilometers beneath the thick ice of Antarctica. They found this enormous, perfectly silent structure. It was a vault, way older than any civilization known to the Galactic Council, and its walls were carved from this pitch-black metal that completely defied every known law of physics. Now, what's really fascinating here is the chilling warning they found inside that vault. Scientists discovered a single message, one that actually automatically translated into every human language. To whoever finds this, humanity must never awaken. Just imagine that. This message had been resting there in the dark for 1 million years. But here is the profound psychological twist. Instead of terrifying humanity into sealing the vault right back up, that ominous warning did the exact opposite. It sparked this insatiable, absolutely unstoppable human curiosity. I mean, tell a human not to push a button, right? And that curiosity, it triggered an immediate, totally unprecedented global reaction. For the very first time in our history, humanity quietly and completely unified. Working in the shadows, way out of the public eye, governments brought their deepest secrets to the table. Decades-old wars, they just paused. It turns out, nothing unites us quite like being told, hey, do not touch this. Global resources were merged into a single, unified effort. That Antarctic vault became Earth's absolute greatest secret, acting as a catalyst that transformed our fractured species into one focused entity with one shared goal: understanding the forbidden technology beneath the ice. Let's move to and see how this builds, because this unprecedented unity sparked an insanely rapid timeline of progression. For 20 years, the absolute greatest minds on Earth secretly studied the forgotten technology inside that vault. Piece by piece, humanity essentially leaped centuries ahead in our evolutionary and technological timeline. And then, just 5 years after that initial 2-decade study period, Earth launched its very first faster-than-light, or FTL, ship. One ship quickly became 100, marking the beginning of our secret expansion into the cosmos. The technological leaps we harvested from that black metal vault were, honestly, nothing short of miraculous. We didn't just iterate on what we had, we completely replaced our foundational sciences. Fossil fuels were entirely abandoned, instantly swapped out for clean, limitless fusion reactors. Those fiery, explosive rockets we used to clumsily push ourselves into orbit were replaced by silent, effortless gravity engines. and our primitive silicon microchips swapped for quantum computers capable of solving complex, multivariable problems in mere seconds. The stars, which had always been this unreachable dream, suddenly felt very, very close. And this brilliantly illustrates how, instead of letting this newfound power go to our heads, humanity chose a surprisingly brilliant strategy: absolute silence. Unlike other alien races that loudly claimed territory and constantly broadcasted their presence, we preferred the quiet. We avoided contact. We quietly spread beyond our solar system, building a massive hidden infrastructure. We're talking covert stations deep inside asteroid fields, massive automated factories hidden within the crushing pressures of gas giants, and top-secret research labs buried beneath the ice of frozen moons. While the Council looked the other way, Earth was busy building an empire in the shadows. But then, the silence was broken. Far, far beyond known space, an ancient machine that had been dormant for millennia finally woke up. Its sensors swept across the galaxy, searching until they locked firmly right onto Earth. By activating the technology in the vault, humanity had unknowingly tripped a million-year-old wire. The ancient machine broadcasted one single, terrifying sentence across the stars: "The Guardians have returned." Now, to really grasp the absolute panic this caused, we needed to find who the Guardians actually were in galactic lore. According to the forbidden histories and the very oldest records of the Galactic Council, the Guardians were a legendary, almost mythological species. They were a civilization so impossibly powerful that they had once defeated an enemy capable of literally consuming entire galaxies. And then, right at the height of their power, they just vanished. No explanation whatsoever. Until this signal locked onto Earth, nobody knew who they truly were. While hearing that signal, the Galactic Council was thrown into utter chaos. They immediately assumed, because of course they did, that these primitive monkeys back on Earth had somehow stumbled upon and stolen Guardian technology. So, to rectify their mistake, the Council authorized an overwhelming, totally panicked response. They dispatched an emergency invasion fleet of 10,000 heavily armed warships programmed to jump directly to Earth. The scale of this fleet was meant to be an unstoppable hammer, specifically designed to just crush a bug. The Council's orders were simple, and frankly super arrogant: confiscate every artifact, occupy the planet, and eliminate any resistance. They fully expected a one-day victory. But man, did their expectations violently clash with reality. When those 10,000 alien warships dropped out of hyperspace, they didn't find some defenseless, primitive world scrambling in fear. No. Instead, they found thousands of sleek, perfectly silent, pitch-black human warships already waiting for them in the dark of space, completely surrounding the invasion fleet. These human ships were seriously unnerving. They had no visible weapons and no glowing energy shields. Seeing this, the alien admiral leading the Council's fleet, he just smiled. He arrogantly dismissed the human fleet as primitive intimidation, just a desperate bluff by a lesser species. Supremely confident in his 50,000 years of technological superiority, he didn't even hesitate. He immediately gave the order to attack, unleashing millions of superheated plasma beams directly at the unshielded human vessels. And this is where the laws of the universe just seemed to break. The millions of plasma beams rushed toward the black ships, and then nothing. Literally nothing. The shots weren't blocked by some invisible deflector shield, they weren't absorbed by heavy armor, they were simply erased, plucked from existence as if they had never even been fired at all. The alien admiral's smile vanished instantly, replaced by this cold, creaking realization that he was facing something entirely outside of his comprehension. In the stunning, heavy silence that followed, the human ships finally broke their communication blackout. A calm, perfectly steady human voice echoed simultaneously across every single frequency and channel in the alien fleet, delivering this massive, chilling punchline: "You were warned 1 million years ago." And before that terrified admiral could even try to formulate a response, a single human vessel slowly raised a hand-shaped energy emitter right into the void of space. What happened next wasn't some huge space battle. There were no dramatic explosions, no flashing lasers, just a cold, incredibly quiet climax. In an instant, the entire Council invasion fleet simply stopped moving. Every single hyperdrive engine shut down. Every antimatter weapon became useless metal. On the bridge of the flagship, and honestly on every computer across all 10,000 alien vessels, the screens blinked and locked, displaying just 2 simple words in glowing text: "Access denied." Without a single explosion, the humans had taken absolute, complete control of the enemy fleet. So the crucial point is, when the dust settled, the most important metric of this entire encounter was simply zero. Within minutes, a fleet of 10,000 of the galaxy's most advanced warships just surrendered. But the true victory was in the zeros. There were zero casualties, there was zero destruction of property or life, there was zero war. The humans didn't need to fire a single shot to completely dismantle the greatest military threat the Galactic Council had ever assembled. Because all of this was broadcasted live to billions of beings across the galaxy, the Galactic Council, and really the rest of the universe, suddenly learned a terrifying truth. Earth hadn't stolen Guardian technology from the ice. No. The reason the technology responded to us, the reason we advanced so incredibly quickly, and the reason we could simply turn off 10,000 alien warships with a single thought, was because of our lineage. Humanity hadn't found the Guardians. Actually, humanity had always been the Guardians, just dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. So, as we wrap up this explainer, we're left with a pretty profound question to ponder. What happens when a galaxy's most primitive species was actually its ancient ruler all along? This whole narrative beautifully illustrates the incredible power of silent, focused preparation over loud, unearned arrogance. It's a great reminder that sometimes the quietest players in the room might just be holding all the cards. Thank you so much for joining me as we unraveled the incredible return of the Silent Guardians. Keep questioning, keep exploring, and I'll catch you next time.